Welcome, everyone, to the February 16th, 2022 Planning Board meeting. I am Joanne Crowley, Chair of the Planning Board. As this is a hybrid meeting involving both in-person and remote participation, I need to read the following statement into the record. This is to formally advise that as required by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, paragraphs 18 to 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16th, 2021. The Yarmouth Planning Board will hold a public meeting on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. in the hearing room, Yarmouth Town Hall, 114628, South Yarmouth, Mass. 02664. The public is welcome to attend either in person or via alternate remote access provided on the meeting agenda posted on the town website at www.yarmouth.ma.us under the Agendas and Minutes tab by selecting Planning Board. As there are board members participating remotely, I will begin by taking roll call for quorum, and all votes this evening will be by roll call. I'd like to start, Mr. Goodwin.
Present.
Chris Vincent. Liz Hartsgrove.
Present.
Susan Britta.
Present.
Will Rubenstein.
Present.
Joanne Crowley, present. A quorum is present, so I'd like to remind the public that for remote participation during the public comment period for public hearings or at the discretion of the chair for public meetings, I will invite the audience to comment. Online audience members can use the raise hand button to notify the chair. Dial-in audience members should press *9 on their phones. All audience members will be muted until you're recognized by me to participate. Once recognized, audience members are asked to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation for the public record. And with that, I would like to begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance for those who have flags nearby. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As you know, we've been looking at annual town meeting zoning amendments for our last several meetings. Kathy and I presented these draft articles to the Board of Selectmen at their February 8th meeting last week. And she has included minutes of our discussion on the articles, as well as the vision plan presentation that we made. We've incorporated comments from them that we received from the Board of Selectmen, as well as Town Council in these latest versions of the zoning amendments. And Kathy's going to walk us through 3 amendments this evening, 2 of which have been generated by the Planning Board, and 1 which that has been referred to us to be included in our public hearing. So I'll turn it over to you, Kathy. Thank you.
Sure. I'm just going to go over very briefly the edits, the red line edits to the short-term rentals. As Joanne mentioned, there are some minutes for the meeting on the 8th with the Board of Selectmen, and some of their comments were related to the how the duration of 3 days is calculated, and then related to the types of events that would be allowed or not allowed. In your highlighted area, we have modified the duration from being renting for less than 3 consecutive days to less than 2 consecutive nights is prohibited. To try and help clarify the events and the type of uses that would be allowed, there's a modification to the type of rentals indicating that short-term rentals are for residential uses only. No large-scale events, including but not limited to weddings, corporate events, class reunions, and photo shoots. We continue to keep the no events that include tents or amplified music. Chris Vincent did mention, and he sent an email, and it's included in the packet, a nice edit there to eliminate the reference to under item 4C there, to just say shall not adversely affect the residential character of the neighborhood nor interfere with any reasonable person's enjoyment of their residence. The rest of the provisions there are the same. The one at the very end highlighted in gray, which indicates that any short-term rental use that complies with the terms of this bylaw this is under the sunset clause, shall be permitted to continue up to and including the sunset of this bylaw, at which time it shall lapse. This was to make sure that we weren't creating any grandfathered uses as part of this. So basically indicating very clearly that all that uses lapse at the time of the sunset clause, unless obviously we amend it.
Kathy, could you just point it, where is that change?
On draft 7 of the red lines of the short-term rentals.
Oh, okay.
So, so those are the edits. They have not been incorporated into the actual article itself yet, because I wanted to see which red lines you wanted to incorporate. But there is the draft article also in your packet that was sent to the Board of Selectmen with a draft of the explanations, which have been slightly edited. So we're looking to see if the board wants to make the red line edits, which I will incorporate into the article, and then also take a look at the explanation and see if there's any edits you'd like that. I'm not sure whether this is going to be exactly what gets read at annual town meeting. What I've been told is it sounds like they want it to be what's going to be read at annual town meeting, unless for some reason you had a larger project that required a full presentation, then that might be something that provided more elaborate information and graphics. I think, so I guess that's it.
Any comments, Susan?
Kathy, has the Board of Selectmen seen these recent edits, the 2-night edit and the gray line at the bottom? Are they aware of this, or is this going to be new to them?
This would be new to them.
Okay, but we don't anticipate there'd be any negative feedback on either one of these, do they?
I think they were really in response to questions that they had, and
They
trying
asked,
to make it a
okay.
little bit clearer.
Right.
And, you know, usually they're like, the board is with comments from town council is usually adhered to.
Okay, thank you.
Liz Hartsgrove, any comments?
No comments, thank you.
Thank you. Will Rubenstein, any comments?
No comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Mr. Goodwin?
I don't want to break the streak. No comments, madam.
Okay, thank you. And with that, Kathy, I think we have consensus. We'll go forward with the new version. I would like to say that, again, these, Susan's questions were good ones. These are, some of the changes are directly in response to our meeting with the Board of Selectmen last week. And I thank Chris Vincent for his comments with regard to the residential character of the neighborhood. The one thing I want to bring to everyone's attention is Kathy's last comment with regard to the explanation. She has expanded on that explanation. The board and the town administrators seem to want to have more said about this and in an explanatory way. I think it's all good. So that's why we've added some additional language to the explanation that could very well change.
And this explanation will be included at during
In the
the
warrant.
okay.
Some version of an
Okay.
explanation will
Okay.
appear in the warrant.
What we're trying to do tonight is to get it defined as to what we're going to be presenting at the public hearing on March 16th.
Right.
Understanding that depending on what input you get, you still have another opportunity to make
Okay.
some edits. Typically, we have a discussion period after the public hearing where the board would decide if they want to make any changes, and then what your recommendations would be to the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you for reminding me of that, Kathy. These are draft
Still good.
zoning amendments. And we welcome the opportunity to meet with the public on these. And we're going to talk about the schedule for that a little bit later. I see that Bruce Murphy is here. No comment. Okay, thank you. No, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming, Bruce. Our Director of Health was here. Okay, so next one, Kath.
The next one has to do with the seasonal employees at motels and hotels. This has not changed since you saw it last, nor has it changed from what was presented to the Board of Selectmen, although the Planning Board has not seen the explanation that's here. So maybe if anybody had any comments on the explanation or any further edits, I guess.
Any comments around? No? I don't have any, Kathy. Susan, any from you?
The only comment I would make, I use of J1 and H2B, could we have in parentheses what that means? A lot of people don't know what
I can help there if you would like.
well, I don't know if, I think we should, don't you think it should be in the text, J1? Then
No, I think it's a great idea. I think the general headline is J1 is an educational based visa for college students to come and work temporarily. The H2B is an 18-month visa that
Yeah.
just takes, that's a much longer, more full-time commitment
Right,
by the staff as well as the organization. But yes, I think a brief sentence or two would be helpful.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Would we, the best place for that might be in the explanation?
Yeah, that's what I think, so.
Yeah, in the explanation, not incorporating
No,
it
no, no,
actually
no,
into
no, in
the,
the explanation. Because the very first sentence says it will help address temporary housing needs of seasonal workers, mainly J1 and H2B. So I think if we can insert what Will said, either in parentheses or that this means blah, blah, so that people know what we're talking about.
I think they're really, I think the biggest change, obviously the duration is one of them, but also that they're visa workers. They're coming into the
Right.
United States as with a visa in order to work.
Mhm.
So maybe I'll work on incorporating something in there.
and the next one is the petitioned article.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yep. In your packet, you have the formalized certified petitioned article from the town clerk, which was submitted to the Board of Selectmen on January 25th. And on the 8th, the board formally voted to send the petitioned article to the planning board for the public hearing. So that will be incorporated into our public hearing on the 16th. I did talk to Robert Ciavara, who is the initiator, I think, of the petitioned article, and he will be in attendance at the hearing and understands that he will be giving a presentation and answering questions from the public. I have already received a couple comments or concerns from people who have heard about it. So I think I've encouraged them to come to the hearing and or put something in writing, even if they're simply reiterating their statement from previously, just so that we know they still are feel as strongly as they did before. And I do think this is the planning board's public hearing. So I think we should notice the abutters within 300 feet, similar to what would be required for a special permit. Sound good?
Great. Mr.
Kathy,
Mur-
is that meeting set up yet? The public meeting? Did you
Yes,
say
it's on the 16th.
Of February or March?
Oh, March.
March 16th.
Today's February.
Right.
Darn, we're
Say,
having
oh,
it
we have to get
tonight.
ready.
Okay, this is the public hearing. This is good.
Right, so we'll have a pre-St. Patrick's Day celebration.
Yeah.
Right.
And that will be, Kathy, do you know yet whether that's going to be a hybrid meeting or?
I was planning on having it be a hybrid meeting, but that's a good question for the board. I think it's,
Any thoughts on that?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes, Will?
is there a reason why it wouldn't be hybrid?
I can't think of any.
Okay, then those are my comments. Thank you.
I mean, the Board of Health meets as a hybrid, so if they're willing to meet, we.
I
Well,
think,
I think it just encourages more participation, the more avenues you give the public to participate. Wait,
Right.
that was redundant, but you know what I meant.
Agreed. I'm on that. It just allows more opportunities for people to participate, whether it's in person and in their comfort zone. So I agree. Thank you.
thank you, Liz.
There's something in the chat that we need. Okay.
Brad, you're okay with, okay, great. Then I think we'll go ahead and organize that as a hybrid. Kathy, anything else on these now? We'll have the public hearing. You had sent a note in about the schedule. You've got a tight schedule in terms of public notice, the Board of Selectmen. Do you want to run through that now, or are you going to do that? Did you prefer to do that later?
I think that's a good time. It's a good time to do that. If we have our public hearing on the 16th, right now, the Board of Selectmen does not have a meeting scheduled for the 22nd. So we would be on their agenda for the 29th. So that's their last meeting when they would also be voting the warrant. There is still the possibility that they may schedule a meeting for the 22nd, but right now they do not have one scheduled.
And the 29th is a public meeting, Kathy?
The 29th is just the Board of Selectmen's meeting
Nicholas.
where we would present our recommendations and kind of go over what, they typically like to hear what public comments we received,
Okay.
and then what the board's recommendation is on all three of the zoning articles.
Okay, so to be clear, the last chance for the public to participate in any of these will be our meeting on the 16th. The Board of Selectmen meeting, other than that 15-minute time period in front where people can make comments, but it is not an opportunity to address each one of these amendments. Is that correct?
Correct. They typically, it's not a public hearing where
Not a
they,
public hearing.
But you may get people who might comment anyway.
Oh, they may,
Yeah, the
they
public
may.
comment,
I just
yeah.
want the public to
Yeah.
know that, if they're listening tonight, that,
Yes.
they need to,
That-
so this is, and will, the reason we have these hybrid meetings is to try to increase public participation. That's a great opportunity, because that will be it. I mean, in terms of a formal public setting will be our meeting on the 16th. Okay.
Well, and it's a great way, Susan, for people to get educated on the topics that may be placed on the warrants prior to town meeting, because then the next opportunity after the selectmen is at town meeting. So, yeah.
sometimes, and as previous, the Board of Selectmen has their own pre-town meeting. We had one last fall, if you recall. So there might be another opportunity at that time to present and hear kind of questions and comments from the public. Wouldn't change the warrant, but it gives us a good idea of what questions that we want to be sure that we have answers for at town meeting. The only other item was, I'm not, and then maybe Bruce can talk about this. One of the things that we didn't really get into when we met with the Board of Selectmen on the 8th was the planning board's support for additional staffing in the health department for a housing inspector. I do know that they need to, that they, being the Board of Selectmen, need to approve that new position. I'm not exactly sure when they're going to be doing that, but I just think it might be something that's happening prior to when we write our memo to the Board of Selectmen for our zoning articles. So I don't know whether it would be something where the planning board would like staff to work with Joanne to write a letter of support from the planning board for that second housing inspector position, because we are adding all of these additional housing zoning amendments.
Kathy and I have talked about this, that we think it would be beneficial, hopefully our voice weighs in, to memorialize our concern about the effectiveness of enforcement. That is one of the primary concerns that we've heard from the public, and that adding additional staff to help in the inspections and this additional work would be very important. So memorializing in a form of a memo from the planning board to the Board of Selectmen, I think would be very helpful and may weigh in appropriately.
Can I ask a question in terms of process? Would we send it prior to their, I would assume to make it effective and have it part of the public record, would send it prior to the March 29th?
Correct. I think what we would like to do, and again, I don't know if Bruce knows exactly when that's going to be discussed on the Board of Selectmen's agenda, but sometime in March, they're going to be talking about the budget and this extra position. And I just want to make sure that if the planning board feels strongly in support of this, that we get that word out. I'm just concerned that if we wait, as we discussed, to be part of the memo with our recommendations, it might be too late.
Yeah, I think it deserves a separate emphasis point with a letter signed by the chair.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what we're looking for is a wink and a nod from you that Kathy and I will put this together.
Or consensus.
Thank you, Kathy. Consensus, appropriately so. Consensus that you could delegate authority to Kathy and I to put an appropriate memo together. I would like to do it as soon as possible. Budgets are now, maybe Bruce can tell us where we are in the cycle, but I would imagine budget requests are well along in their maturity, and documents are being put together for the Board of Selectmen's consideration. So the sooner we get it together, I think the better.
I believe it's in the budget currently. Is that true?
Oh,
Bruce?
is it? Oh, it's already in. It's got a placeholder in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay, great. Great.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Brad, right?
Brad, yes. I apologize. I just quickly, if you could put the phrase in there at the behest of the selectmen, I mean, we technically work for the Board of Selectmen. They asked us to put this short-term rental in so the tax revenue can keep going. We have done that. And because we've done that, we've added more work onto the Board of Health. So if you could maybe get that phrase in there, that would be great.
Okay.
And Joanne, I also think it's important, as we've all emphasized, for these two amendments to be effective and produce some positive results. Enforcement is really, really, the public is going to demand enforcement. And hence our overwhelming support for the funding for these various positions. Because there's no sense doing these things if we're setting them up to fail without providing adequate staff to enforce them.
Yeah, I would also add that we maybe cite their selectmen's goals, that it's aligned, and that's what, aligned with what Brad was saying, that these are goals of the selectmen that we've been working on to achieve, and this is the result of it, that it's a chain reaction. So if you do one, you have to do the other. It doesn't, it's not one or the other. It has to be a collaborative approach in making sure that it comes to fruition and it's successful, as Susan said. So thank you.
We have enough to work with?
I
there?
think so.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is local comprehensive plan.
I just want to do an introduction kind of to what the local comprehensive plan would be required to include. In your documents or in your packets is a document from the Cape Cod Commission, which is their local comprehensive plan guidance. Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce.
And I just wanted to go over it briefly as we kind of move forward. This is kind of some of the things that we're going to keep coming back to of what we need to be sure that we have as a minimum in our local comprehensive plan. Obviously, we can always expand on it, and obviously we're going to be highlighting certain areas that are important to the town of Yarmouth. But this is what the Cape Cod Commission is looking for to be included in a certified LCP. So the first item obviously is the vision statement. I think we've done a great job. We have a great vision plan and vision statement. We also have a really good foundation for that growth policy, redevelopment over new development, protecting our environmental resources, not wanting to overcrowd our community or overtax our infrastructure. So I think we really kind of have that item down very well. Our vision plan has been sent to the commission, and they are feel it more than meets the LCP requirements. So we're in very good shape with our vision statement. The next thing that needs to be included is existing conditions. This is kind of like a basic inventory, an overview of our existing conditions and assets in our town. They do give some examples of some basic information that they'd like included, like obviously population, housing units, significant economic sectors, and that type of thing. So we would just want to get a baseline of our existing conditions, and that's pretty standard in any comprehensive plan. The next item has to do with the actual goals then identified by the town and what we want to adopt. They do need to be consistent with those contained in the RPP, but obviously, again, as I mentioned, they can be tailored to our community. One of the things they do want to have us take a look at is how we can apply the goals to the varying place types. And I'll talk a little bit more detail about what the place types means in a minute. The next big item is the capital facilities plan. And I'm really hoping that Bill Scott is going to be able to assist us with the development of that plan, as well as the Cape Cod Commission has also offered some assistance to communities on that front. Housing plan, we are very lucky that we have we are updating our housing production plan. So that's going to be very valuable information that's just related to housing. It's going to kind of be up to us to how we incorporate it into all the other sectors, the economy and that type of thing. And then the next big thing, obviously, is having very specific targeted action items, things that we can actually implement, identifying the time frame to do so, who's going to be responsible for it, of goals and actions that we can actually meet the visions and the goals that we're looking for. They do identify some targeted action plan items that they'd like to see included, like are you proposing any zoning or ordinance amendments to help you meet your vision? What is your schedule and budgeting for your public and private capital projects? Obviously, your affordable housing, what are you going to be doing with that? And also the process that we're going to be having to update the Cape Cod Commission on how we are actually implementing our LCP over time. And then the last item there is just having some type of performance measures to see how we're actually doing with identifying the action plans, having achieved the purpose with which we were hoping. So that's generally some of the items that need to be incorporated. With regard to how frequently we would need to update the LCP, it seems now it's very much tied to as the commission updates their regional policy plan or their RPP, they want to make sure that certified plans are collaborated in compliance with the latest RPP. So some of the things included in the RPP goals that we do need to be sure that we have identified in our local comprehensive plan are related to the natural systems, built systems, and the community systems. If you look at page 12 in the document, it identifies our natural systems, and I think we have very good vision and goals related to these items in our vision plan, related to water resources, ocean resources, wetland resources, wildlife and plant habitat, and open space. Very similar with the built systems, we're looking at our community design. We might want to put a little bit more emphasis on land use and Route 28 for our community, but additional built systems are coastal resiliency, that capital facilities and infrastructure plan that I mentioned, transportation, which we have included in our vision, energy, waste management, and climate mitigation. Community systems are our cultural heritage, our history and culture and archaeological resources. Our economy, we obviously have a nice big section on the economy in our vision plan, and housing. And then we would add and incorporate the specific items to Yarmouth from our vision plan, which are related to education and those community services like recreation, senior services, the library, and just our general town services. So place types. In the regional policy plan, they have identified 8 place types, and they're really meant to set a framework of context-sensitive planning and regulation. There may be some cases where we don't necessarily set specific goals based on place type, but there might be some areas where we want to do so. On page 14, they've identified all the different place types and with the vision for each one, and then strategies to implement that. So we have natural areas, rural development areas, suburban development areas, which I think is basically our Route 28 corridor, historic areas, maritime areas, community activity centers. Town of Yarmouth really only has one community activity center. It's in the South Yarmouth Village, and you had to meet very specific criteria in order to be designated as a community activity center. And then we have industrial activity centers, which is a lot along our White's Path area, and then also military and transportation areas. I've asked the commission to provide us with a PDF of place type mapping for the town of Yarmouth, and I'll distribute that to you guys when we receive it, so you can see the areas which they have identified in the different place types. But again, each one has its own vision and some strategies with which to meet that vision, which as we're moving through our goals and implementation items, we might have to refer back to that to see if we want to make anything specific related to a specific place type. And then one of the big things is how the LCP should be organized. I think, as you all may know, I have in my office and on the town website, I have 3 binders, three-ring binders, which is the Town of Yarmouth Local Comprehensive Plan. They've really streamlined the LCP regulations to get down to a minimum requirement for a certified LCP plan. What we have is probably something much, much more detailed. I think maybe we want to be obviously a little bit more than the minimum, but I don't think we want to have a ginormous, extensive document that's not readable. I think your guys' idea with the vision plan of having it be very user-friendly, very easy to get in and out of, and a reasonable document is something that we should probably strive for. And that's certainly something that as we move forward, we can start looking at maybe a table of contents of kind of how we might want to lay out our local comprehensive plan. Page 19 of the Cape Cod Commission guidelines gives you an LCP template, and kind of this is the information that you need to incorporate. Obviously, the first one is your vision statement and growth policy. I think we're going to have existing conditions, key issues and needs, and community goals are going to be based on each of those items in the natural systems, the built systems, and the community systems. So you need to identify what are our existing conditions in water resources, what are our key issues and needs, and then what are our community goals with that. They want to incorporate an existing build-out analysis. If you have it, we have a limited build-out analysis as part of the comprehensive wastewater management plan, the latest notice of project change, which it builds in a certain amount of growth for our community, which was necessary to get the 0% state revolving fund loan. So that's something that can be incorporated in our economy section. Again, they need to have that section with regard to the capital infrastructure facilities. You need to outline your housing plan, and then all the other great town plans that we have. We're also working to update our open space and recreation plan as well. And then just the generic things that go into this of, what are your public process? How is the Cape Cod Commission involved? You need to have that detailed action plan, which basically says, here's our goal, here are the people who are responsible for doing it, and this is the time frame which we think we will get that done. And they also want you to identify, any specific zoning or bylaw changes that you would need to incorporate in order to meet the vision and goals outlined in your LCP. So
Kathy, what's the timing on this? The timing, what's the time frame which we have to?
We were envisioning, I think, it to be taking about 18 to 24 months to
Okay.
complete it. Obviously, I like to do it a little bit faster. I think we got a lot of great public input from the vision plan. I'd like to use that to start developing some ideas before we then go back out to the public. I think the public's given us what we need to get going. Obviously, the consultant is something that is going to play a significant role. I don't know if we talked about, I know I sent it out via email to everyone that there is an item in an article in the warrant for $100,000 to fund a consultant for the LCP. So we will have some money in order to do that. So basically, we need to go through our local process, get the comprehensive plan approved at town meeting before it gets certified by the Cape Cod Commission. Obviously, we're going to be working very closely with them so that we're not going off the rails and developing something that they would not be able to certify. There's obviously a lot of good reasons to have a certified local comprehensive plan. We get to sit at the table, a seat at the table for development agreements with people, ability to assess impact fees pursuant to the Cape Cod Commission Act. We'd also helps us with those modifications to the thresholds through Chapter H and or modifying our growth incentive zone. I think modifying our growth incentive zone is something that's going to be very important to us for having a certified LCP. We got it extended by 10 years to 2031, the one that we have, but we really couldn't modify it at all without having a certified local comprehensive plan. So I think that's a good general overview.
Madam Chair, may I add a comment?
Yes, please. We're going to go around. Yeah, start it off.
Sorry, well, I'll wait till it's my turn. I can be compliant.
No, fine. Go ahead.
All right. What I wanted to, two questions I have. Number one is how much, I heard about the streamlining, Kathy. How much different a process is this than what we did the last time? That would be my first question. And the second question would be, how aware are Mr. Scott and Mr. Rittenauer about what we're embarking on? To what level are they A, aware, B, committed, and C, how about the other department heads? Because it feels like there's some amazing work that already has been done, which is terrific, but it also feels like we have to bring some other people to this party in the next 18 months. And I would just love to know, and certainly help if you need it, how much internal communication there has been inside the town of Yarmouth about that this is coming and this is happening and this train's about to leave the station. Thank you.
I think I'll answer the second question first. I think the town staff has been very well aware of the visioning process and that this is the foundation for the local comprehensive plan. Many of them participated in the process, as well as I would give when I gave regular updates to the or requests for input from the general public, I also did it through all employees in the town of Yarmouth. I found that the different departments have been very collaborative in anything that we've asked them to do. So I fully expect them to assist in this and be on board. And I think the town administrator and the assistant town administrator are also on board. I know that Bob Rittenauer specifically said to me that he was in support of the local comprehensive plan. He's also went through a master plan, a little bit different, but a master plan in Oaks Bluff when he was the town administrator there. So he understands the benefits of it, and he understands the need, I think, for the consultant to help us along with that. And Bill Scott had already discussed helping with the capital and infrastructure plan. So I think they are all on board. With regard to streamlining the process and how it's different, it's hard for me because many of the sections were done prior to my being here. There were 3 sections that were updated in I think 2015, housing, wetlands, and plant and wildlife. And that was based on obviously the housing production plan that had been done, as well as the open space and rec plan that had been done. That was a relatively streamlined process, but it was only 3 chapters. And it had to do with, obviously different committees and boards were and staff were sought out input. And then we also had various public meetings with the planning board, and then it needed to be approved at town meeting. So there was a lot of things that happened at that point, but I can't answer how it was with regard to the bulk of the local comprehensive.
Okay. Thank you. That was really helpful. And just a quick follow-up, if I may, Madam Chair. Specifically as it relates to the open space and recreation plans, believe it or not, those are 2 of the committees that none of us participate on, which is kind of crazy because we participate in a lot of cool things. So I guess that's sort of the corollary is how much gentle nudging do we do? And I guess it sounds like from Kathy, and I'm very happy to hear that she's confident that those processes will also be undertaken because they're all connected to what we're trying to do. Am I making any sense?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. As she's indicated, the collaboration among all of the town departments has set us up with a pretty good foundation here.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to learn more.
There will be more. There'll be a lot more. Liz?
I see the iceberg, and
Yeah.
hopefully we won't hit it. Yes.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Brad?
I've got my fingers crossed. The first thing Dave Kellogg, who was 2 planners ago, was working on when I joined the planning board was the LCP. And I saw the reams of documents he had to do and the amount of time he had to take. So if we get the $100,000 and the CCC will accept a trimmed down version, there could be a good shot. I'm hopeful. But if we don't get the $100,000, I don't think it's going to be possible. The strain on the town staff to do this, to get it before public meetings, churn it out. No. So we've got to get the 100,000.
Agreed, yeah. Susan, anything?
No.
It's a good start, Kath. We're open to your tutorials every 2 weeks.
Okay. So I have to stay just 1 week ahead of you guys and I'll be fine.
There you go. And just one side comment, the funding for this has moved around a little bit.
Yes.
At our last meeting, there was a separate article that was proposed. By the time Kathy and I met with the Board of Selectmen last week, this request had been returned to the request for a free cash grant among the long list of other things. And I think that's where it is now.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, that's where we think it is now, but we'll wait to see if it if it moves around at all.
Can I ask a question?
yes.
A process question. Brad may know the answer to this. When that comes up at town meeting, can that be amended from the floor? In other words, could I offer an amendment to increase the amount to 150,000? It can't be, Liz? No, it is.
You can't increase the price. You can actually move, you can't increase the bottom line. So if it's not a contracted service that there is an agreement with, that is already an RFP and signed contract, you can move things around within what is listed, and the bottom line has to remain the same, but you can't increase it because it wasn't advertised and given public notice for the amount that is being considered. You can actually reduce the amount, you just can't go over the amount.
Right. If you were at town meeting, I think it was 3 town meetings ago, the former member of the FinCom deducted a huge amount of money out of, I think, the recreation budget, because he didn't like it and it didn't pass because he made a motion to withdraw it, to drop it down. Liz
Yeah.
is spot on this. You can take it down. You can't go up.
Right. And then with like contracts, for example, I've been in town meetings in the past in other communities where they have, the public wasn't happy with the town manager and didn't want to actually approve and take out the actual budget for the line item for personnel for the town manager's salary. And they're like, well, this is already an agreed upon annual contract and we're 2 years into it. And so that money's going to have to come from actual personnel, not from the town manager. So again, it's contracted services already in agreement. You can't reduce that in any capacity because it's an obligated contract. But with the free cash, again, like bottom line, it can go under, but it can't go over that amount. And you can play within the numbers of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to next item on the agenda. If we don't have anything else on LCP, Kathy,
I'm
we good
good.
on that? Okay. Meeting minutes. In our packets, we have meeting minutes from, I believe, February 2nd. May I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes for February 2nd?
So moved.
I would be my pleasure to second that, Madam Chair.
All right, roll call. Will Rubenstein,
Aye.
Brad Goodwin,
Aye.
Liz Hartsgrove,
Aye.
Susan Britta,
Aye.
Joanne Crowley, aye. Passes unanimously. There are the no quorum minutes, Kath, from the 8th.
Right.
Do we just leave them as
No, I've been told we need
we
to
do vote on
on
them? Okay.
And literally,
You can't make me.
you can abstain.
No, I'm teasing. I was teasing Kathy. I was teasing.
Kathy, your no was priceless. No, just
No.
no, stop.
I've
No.
been told.
Scold.
Ridiculous.
As long as Joanne votes for them,
I mean, I watched the replay. I almost feel guilty.
Okay.
Like I watched the YouTube of it, but like, I don't know. The whole thing is so weird.
All right. So may I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes of February 8th,
So
2020?
moved.
Second, I was second, please.
Thank you. Roll
your
call.
enthusiasm is appreciated.
Mr. Goodwin,
Abstain.
Liz Hartsgrove,
That was low, Brad.
I wasn't there.
I wasn't either, but
aye. Okay. Will,
Abstain with all due respect.
Susan Britta,
I'm going to abstain also.
Joanne Crowley, yes.
Perfect.
Great.
It passes 204 because it's a no quorum. It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry, but you know that.
Trust me, I don't want to be writing these extra minutes
No.
either.
But
Brad, government's ridiculous at times. So, come on.
I do thank you for those minutes, though, Kathy. They're very helpful in terms of memorializing the discussion with the Board of Selectmen. I mean, I tried to write as fast as I could, but you are remarkable.
I had to
at-
watch a little.
At that, so.
Thank goodness for YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next up, Kathy has sent us several zoning board of appeals decisions, and attached to one of her notes to us was a note with regard to, which I should have brought up earlier, a zoning violation that was associated with a short-term rental that's in our packets. I just make note that you take a look at it. Mark had put it, we'd obtained it as an example of where enforcement will be very important, and where this one place where we've had some issues. But that was as part of, it was an attachment as part of her zoning Board of Appeals memo to us. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. Anything else on that? None. Okay, committee updates. Let's start with Brad Goodwin.
Ours was with just Affordable Housing Trust is the only one we've had. We were discussing a parcel of land in Yarmouth that a citizen would like to purchase, and that obviously has to go through all the committees. Affordable Housing thought maybe we should look at it for veterans uses. And the other thing that was interesting is Mary Wagan brought to our attention that the town of Barnstable, in its infinite wisdom, give them credit, is doing some more top-of-shop housing in different areas of town. It's Mary's understanding that about 20 units at the Bell Tower Mall in Centerville are above the regular retail slots are going to be made dwelling units, and 4 out of the 20 or 4 out of the 21 are going to be affordable. So 2 points for Barnstable, and it's just another creative way of using an existing structure to make a win-win. So good for them.
I'm not sure if you're the right person, Brad, but the Housing Summit was after our last meeting. Do you want to, you were there, I was there.
Yeah.
Do you want to
it was-
just give us?
I thought we already covered that. I guess we didn't. There were, I think, 35 or 40 virtual people who attended. All the facilitators, including Joanne and myself, put our notes back to Mary Wagan, and she's going to compile them and give them to our paid consultant, and she is going to mass them together and show what the town was looking for. It was a good give and take. It really was. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up.
Yeah, very, very good meeting. I did have a question on that I can just direct to Mary. She had said at the close that the listing of priorities, because it was a virtual meeting, you know, we couldn't all walk around with stickies, that she would send out a note with regard to what they all were, and we would add our comments and votes, if you will. I haven't seen that yet. Have you, Brad?
I
No.
have not.
It's probably a fairly substantial amount of work to get it all together, but we should watch for that when it comes through.
Just as a fun side note, Joanne, to this, maybe it speaks to that. I sent Mary Wagan a quick email saying, "Hey, nice job, well done, big smile face," and she responded to that yesterday morning. So that was from February 4th to the 14th or 15th. So I think she's a little stacked up a little bit with a lot of responsibilities.
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
The Cape Cod Commission did a survey, put out a survey about people buying houses on the Cape last year. And the results were very interesting. There was not a lot sold. Actually, there was a lot sold. People came to the Cape and stayed. But the people who responded and the people that participated in the survey, the results are very interesting. Not terribly dissimilar to the people that participated in this and Mary's housing survey, but also some of the responses we got on the vision statement. The people that responded to the Cape Cod Commission survey tended to be older, which doesn't surprise us, but richer. They're coming to the Cape with more money. They're retired, they've sold a house, they're building or buying a bigger house. And their areas of interest aligned very well with our vision statement. These people are overwhelmingly concerned about the environment, the physical environment, as well as sort of the living environment, like the bike trails and the open space, the parks and things like that. Less concerned about the schools, naturally, because they don't have kids in the schools.
That was last on the list. Yeah, and money did not matter. Price of house did not matter. They want internet access. They want bike trails. They want parks. They want safety. They want clean environment, and price was no matter. So 2 points for Sue. Yeah, I read the same document. It's interesting. They use the Cape for almost all their needs except primary health care, advanced health care, and investment advice. Everything else they use on the Cape.
Well, some of it, I think, is the fact that Boston, which is the epicenter of fabulous healthcare in the world, is literally, you know, an hour away. So they may be having a tooth filled on the Cape, but if they're going to be having an implant, they tend to go off the Cape. But I thought the education piece did not surprise me, given the age of given the demographic. But I was pleased to see that there is some wealth coming onto the Cape. Because I think that will help ultimately with an, sort of attack, not just environment, but the Cape overall, with some concepts of year-round employment, year-round, resort kind of activities. But a lot of it not dissimilar. I was pleased to see some of the very similar to our vision statement and very similar to some of the comments made at our housing summit.
Other committee updates? Will?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The CBC, while originally I was led to believe we were going to celebrate Valentine's Day with our final meeting, that is now scheduled for tomorrow, and we will incorporate finally the school committee capital requests. Second thing is the library planning committee does continue to chug along, and I think you'll start to see some more and more output from that group. So we'll see where that goes. And I think those are the two big ones. Oh, and by the way, that big, beautiful new school, which I will mention once again, I'm very proud that our town decided to vote for it, despite all the shenanigans. That school is really rocking and rolling, and actually will be done, it looks like, by mid-October, which means, translation, we will still be looking at a move-in date for kids after the Christmas break, so January of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. I have one update for CEDC. We've had two meetings since our last meeting. One was addressing the marketing RFP, tourism marketing RFP. That's an 18-month contract that currently is held by the Chamber of Commerce. We're up for recycling to get that out publicly again. So we reviewed the language for that. There's also an article that traditionally appears in the town warrant for the Tourism Revenue Preservation Fund. That typically just has a single number in it, essentially an appropriation of the total amount that's been certified for the fund. The article this year will have a bit more information. It'll have an allocation among functional areas where the Tourism Revenue Preservation Fund money is spent and where we expect to spend it in the following year. And there's a fairly significant amount of detail that typically never appeared before. We think this is an improvement in transparency, so that questions about, well, what is that? What does that fund? What's important about it? We'll be able to answer the questions as they arise. And then finally, the newest member of our committee is Maria Marasco, who I think is going to be a tremendous add. She has, a long background here in town and has some major connections to state officials in her prior development. She's been on various development authorities, New Bedford and other places, and has connections for economic development with the state. So we're looking forward to her participation. That's what I have for CEDC.
Madam Chair, I'd also like to point out that at 6:30 tonight, there's a special school committee meeting to consider the state's change of the mask requirement in our schools across the state of Massachusetts, which means that each town or town school committee is now considering whether to follow the state guidelines, which are to lift the mask requirement as of the start of school on Monday, February 28th, or to maintain it or to do some sort of hybrid. So that meeting will be on channel 22 and I think on the town's YouTube channel starting at 6:30. As you can imagine, there's been lots of commentary and public comments that have been submitted already, and I expect there'll be lots and lots more. So I think that's an important one just to keep on our radars. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Any other new member items?
Drive-in site?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We had.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It was a very quick meeting. We're a tad behind on our goals for design, having certain design elements, but not far behind. We nailed down some traffic patterns. We nailed down the final location for the bathrooms. We gave the consultant guidance as to how to proceed with because they're now dealing with basically climate change and water, the tides and the water along the Parker River and how that's going to affect the project. But it's moving along. We've made a lot of progress. I think we're pretty close on target. So close that we don't have another meeting yet. We normally meet every 2 weeks, but because they're doing some work that will be very, very important. The next big piece will be the design actually of the boardwalk. So they're putting a matrix together of the various styles, the life cycle costing, impact on the environment, virtually any variable we can think of. And we will be looking at this as a committee and ultimately making a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
My apologies for that. Also, I wanted to mention as part of our CEDC meeting, Kathy presented a comprehensive overview of the project for us. So the entire committee was briefed on the latest developments there, and that was very helpful and well received. So any other board member items? I have one. I'd just like to remind everyone you received from Kathy the annual summary of conflict of interest law. Please pay attention to that. You need to respond, follow the instructions from our town clerk as to what the next steps are. So I just want to bring that to your attention, that we all should keep on top of that.
It's not the test. It's just
It is.
acknowledgement that you
Received the memo.
Right.
Notice.
That's all it is. You're just acknowledging receipt of the note from Mary.
It's the best email I've ever sent,
Yes, I got Will.
even though I don't like it, email. But yeah, thank you. And thank you for making that so easy, Kathy.
Thank you, Kath, for that clarification. Any correspondence, Kathy, that's new that you haven't sent along? I mean, we've
No.
got most of it. And any other updates that you have on town stuff that you wanted to cover?
I think you kind of covered everything. A lot of it was to do with CEDC and the drive-in site, the Riverwalk Park.
Didn't mean to steal your thunder
Oh,
there.
I'm more than happy to have other people speak.
Okay, next on the agenda, our meetings coming up, March 2nd will be our next meeting, and then March 16th will be the public hearing.
Madam Chair, when is our new member, Ms. Marasco, going to join us?
Maria Marasco is CEDC.
Yeah.
Oh, CEDC. Sorry,
Yeah,
I was all
yeah.
excited that she
No.
was coming to here to the planning board.
Jim Saban, I think, has put in an application to join the
Oh, my
planning board.
apologies. I'm so sorry. When you said that, I thought you were talking about the planning board.
I skipped around. I was out of turn.
No, it's okay. Sorry.
So anyway, those are our next sets of meetings. And then, of course, if we do have the March 29th
With the Board of
with the
Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Liz?
Just as a reminder that I am not available on Tuesdays until mid-May, so, and Saturdays. So, that Board of Selectmen meeting on the 29th, I will not be available to attend that. Okay.
Or town meeting.
Or town meeting.
Yeah, big help there, Liz. Big help.
Well, a big help would be me finishing my master's, and I think
I
that's a little
know.
bit more important. Sorry, Brad.
Oh, so sensitive. Oh my
Well, I think
God.
we should take this offline, Madam Chair. I'm kidding. It's we'll happily step in and help you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz, for keeping us up to date on that. Whenever you can join us, we appreciate it. We admire your busy schedule, and good luck with your MPA. Anything else? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second over here.
All right. Brad? I guess that's a yes. Liz?
Agreed.
Yes,
Will?
yes.
Yes, please, Madam Chair.
Susan?
Yes.
Joanne? Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all your help.
Thank you. See you next month. It's a short one.
Yeah.
We're out of February already.
Hey.